Fighting Game Theater.
Team Fatal Fury!
I love how SNK doesn't forget their past. Welcome back to the Fighting Game Theater and our return to the gloriously 90s world of Fatal Fury anime. Last time, Terry Bogard used the power of spinning and punching really hard to defeat evil Southtown crime boss Geese the Goose Howard. If you need a more detailed and immediate refresher, that would be this video right here, link in the description. Today though, we're covering the sequel, Fatal Fury 2: The New Battle, which tells the story of, well, a new battle. We open with Wolfgang Krauser, who has been bishified from his older mustachioed video game look, as he plays his #1 jam, I'm the New Antag. His men then start running roughshod over Southtown, trying to find the whereabouts of Untitled Geese Howard. This then leads to a climactic meeting of the minds as the Fatal Fury 2 bad guy squares up with the Fatal Fury 1 bad guy, who I guess has been licking healing moss off stones in the back of a smelly cave.
Look! He's licking the slime off that rock! That's what he's been eating! Slime!
With this newfound knowledge, Krauser, like any good anime villain should, says the name of the hero out loud.
Terry Bogard. Good.
And then we cut to our title. Terry is now working as a dockhand in I don't know where. It's kind of always unclear. There is this sense that the new battle doesn't take place in Southtown much, or maybe even not at all, but rather through random European countries, I think? Anyway, Terry saves a coworker from villainous falling debris, for which he is thanked via an Irish accent that's so bad it sounds like I did it.
What was that? Ah! What happened? Did you do that there?
On his lunch break, Terry meets a local kid who sucks at fishing and who can only afford one pant leg. This will be a running theme. Alright, here we go. Exhibit A. Tony, the lovable child character that everyone loves and who totally doesn't elicit groans whenever he's on screen. He quickly runs afoul of a group of kids who are LARPing the events of Fatal Fury 1: Legend of the Hungry Wolf, and completely unprovoked, Tony starts to verbally abuse them.
Don't you ever joke around with the name of Terry Bogard. He's a wolf. He's the toughest fighter in the whole world. He's not a fat pig like you.
This is supposed to be our valiant sidekick here, folks. The kids then bully Tony back, which is fair, until Tony nearly kills one of them before Terry steps in.
What are you doing?
That's enough, kid. Let him go now.
If you're really strong, you don't have to pick on weaker guys.
They then start to dilly-dally shilly-shally until Korea's own Kim Kapwan enters the scene and challenges Terry to a non-sanctioned fight. Terry, prone to violence, agrees. You can definitely feel the improvement to the fight choreography and animation over Fatal Fury 1, where combat sequences felt pretty basic and always too brief. Terry comes out on top, of course, but suffers a vague leg injury during the fight. Or was it caused by the most powerful villain in SNK history, falling girders? Tony, now realizing he's standing in the presence of the hero he claims to idolize, is shook to his very core. If he had another pant leg, I'm sure it would have blown off in surprise. Eagle-eyed viewers will then probably notice that dark storm clouds start to move in overhead, which is Masami Obari's attempt at foreshadowing. Foreshadowing for what, you ask? Well, mere seconds later, Terry is accosted by another fighter in a dark alley, so he shoos Tony away.
Tony, get back.
What's wrong, Terry?
Do what I said!
Krauser is here not for revenge over Terry KTFOing Geese, his stepbrother, something I think the animes instituted, but no, I'm sure nerds will correct me, but simply to test his mettle against him. And while Terry tries his best, he forgets he's fighting an SNK boss, who are sometimes pretty overpowered. Terry has to resort to the ancient art of spinning around really hard, which Krauser somehow copies instantly and does it even better than Terry. Tony then runs in and explains that Masami Obari booked this match to keep Terry strong, and that his mysterious leg injury prevented him from fighting at full strength. To which Krauser says,
So you are saying he was not at full strength? Then there's hope for him yet.
Fair enough. He then proclaims that if Terry wants a rematch, he can find it at Krauser's gigantic German battle base. Krauser's battle base playset comes with all you see here! Terry loses consciousness because, yeah, no shit he would, so Tony drags his corpse back to his gaff for some rest and relaxation and an existential crisis. Ripper, I think, or Hopper drops in on Geese's smelly cave and informs him that Terry's been soundly beaten. Not sure how they know this, did Krauser post it up on his Insta? But regardless, Geese seems nonplussed by the news.
Well, Krauser, it's your move.
Cut to a cool nightmare sequence where Terry gets spooked by Shin Krauser, which is all it takes to wake him up from his slumber. Tony's mom, whose name is Tony's mom, has been nursing Terry since he lost consciousness, and while she seems kind-hearted, she promptly tells him to fuck off and to stop dragging Tony into his illegal street fighting. And Terry's all like,
I understand. I'll be leaving town this afternoon.
yeah, I don't like Tony anyway. He then hops on a train to go somewhere because I guess Terry finds peace in the clickety-clack sounds that only a rail system can provide. Meanwhile, Tony's shining shoes at the train station in the hopes he can one day afford a full set of pants, and notices that Terry is skipping town and then confronts him. This conflict all boils down to Terry advising Tony to go back home and to be a family man, and with not much more to say after that, the lone wolf boards the train. After some time has passed, we see Terry inside, wistfully looking out a window, and then Tony, giving precisely zero shits about his mom, decides to abandon her and illegally board the train hobo style. Pretty sure that isn't safe, kid. Who cares? Once the train arrives in, I don't know, Northtown, England? Again, the country is never outright stated. Terry sits his butt down on a park bench and just starts day drinking.
It begins!
Jeez, it's not even a paper bag. Consuming alcohol then gives him the power to instantly detect Tony hiding in the nearby bushes.
How'd you know I was there?
You followed me.
Alright, it's time for the Drunken Bender montage!
Smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
Terry's fun night on the town is then interrupted by Tony for the upteenth time. Hey, you know, big ups to Mark Hildreth's delivery here.
What the hell? Go home, damn it!
I just love that for some reason.
Shouldn't you be getting yourself ready for the fight?
It's too late. I've already lost. I'll always lose. There's no way to beat him. He's a monster. A monster.
Cut to Mai Shiranui! This is her first anime appearance, as she wasn't a thing in Fatal Fury 1, and to zero person's surprise, Masami Obari pays special close attention to her. We also see Jubei Yamada, who creeps out on Mai because of course he does. She sends him packing and goes gallivanting off to find her childhood friend slash boyfriend slash why are you interested in him, Andy Bogard. The martial arts master is busy doing martial arts things before Mai ambushes him by using the old ninja technique of pretending to be someone's fiancé jutsu.
What kind of man are you? Gone for a whole year without even telling your fiancé? How could you?
What? Fiancé?
This allows her to get in a cheap shot, and we are then treated to her victory pose. Then, from out of nowhere...
Andy! Huh? Joe? This is no time to be messing around with girls, Andy. Word's out that Terry lost a fight. He's gone underground.
Well, why does everyone and their grandma know that Terry got his shit pushed in? Literally the only witness to it was Tony, so how did the word get out? Unless, of course, he or Krauser rushed to the Madman's Cafe forums and just started posting like crazy. Anyway, Andy is appropriately shocked at this news before he viciously knocks Mai into the raging river below.
How can it be? He lost.
Later that night, Mai reflects on their toxic relationship.
That bully. There was no need for him to hit me so hard. Then again, that's what I love about him. What a man.
Later even still, Jubei gives Andy and Joe a Did You Know Gaming episode all about Wolfgang Krauser, and it's so grandiose and over the top, I'm just gonna play the whole thing for you.
Krauser family has been active in military affairs since the fall of the Roman Empire. Wolfgang Krauser is the current head of the family. He's the 35th Earl of Stroheim.
Earl of Stroheim?
For generations, they've served as bodyguards and escorts to the highest ranks of the European nobility. Their reputation is unsurpassed. Even now, when European nobles travel abroad, they hire members of the Krauser family to act as their secret service. At least that's how things appear. In reality, it's unclear whether the Stroheims are the servants or the masters. But one thing is certain. They've toppled thrones and overthrown more than one government. They've started revolts and wars. Because of that, the head of the Stroheim family is often called the Emperor of Darkness. And Wolfgang Krauser is said to be the finest warrior that dreadful line has ever produced. For example, on Krauser's 16th birthday, he defeated his father to become the head of the family. He killed his own father in hand-to-hand combat. But Krauser never shed a single tear. They say he laughed.
Krauser equals dope as shit. Despite the words of warning, Andy wants to beat up old Wolfie, and Jubei, knowing that this is basically suicide, says he'll have to get through him to prove that Andy even has a fighting chance. But before that though, let's awkwardly segue to more drunken Terry shenanigans. He is passed out on a park bench. Again, when a bunch of Mad Gear rejects pull up and just start acting the bollocks.
So sorry to disturb you, but we wanted to have a little chat with you, alright?
Yeah, it seems we're a little short on money, and we know that you'd just love to help us out, right?
Whatever you got on you would be just fine.
So hand it over, punk. Right now, alright?
Now, this bit was always weird to me. Terry's had his ass handed to him in the last few scenes, but for some reason here, he gets this fleeting moment of being the old Terry again, mops the floor with the goons, and then just goes back to his drink. That's it. Now we throw over back to Andy and Jubei's ultimate battle for the ultimate destiny.
Good. Well, that's it.
And with that, we are whisked away to Andy and my sexy European sexcation, featuring Joe. The trio and their horrible 90s outfits are waiting for their flight when...
Mr. Joe Higashi,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right.
this is for you.
Huh? Hey, hold on. Oh, guess I'm even more famous than I thought. I just got a fan letter. Or maybe it's a love letter.
It's probably just some stupid chain letter.
What's the matter, Joe?
Looks like somebody found Terry for us.
Okay, so while it's never explicitly said, I think Tony somehow wrote Joe a letter, and even more somehow it made its way to him while he's at an airport. We're never made privy as to what is actually said in the note, but I assume it's like, yo, this guy's really sloshed, come knock some sense into him, please. It's just a bit odd, as it seems that the new battle is kind of missing some connective tissue throughout its running time. Terry, jailed for that park fight we saw earlier, is released on bail. Again, I guess this was posted by Joe, who then confronts the down-on-his-luck Bogard brother in a very sobering moment. I actually kind of feel bad for the guy.
I never expected to see you like this. Joe, what would Andy think if he saw you looking so pathetic? He probably wouldn't even recognize you!
Joe is hell-bent on beating Krauser despite Terry's warnings, and while that's all standard stuff for the usually overconfident Joe, I like this moment of self-doubt here.
What kind of monster is this Krauser to frighten Terry so badly?
Andy and Mai, meanwhile, are doing this really weird thing where they're just staking out Krauser's Battle Castle playset via a rowboat, and nothing really comes of it. But suddenly... The angry couple then squabble outside a cafe for an extended period of time before Mai storms off, lusting for a shopping spree to get her mind off all the years she's wasted on Andy. Andy, for his part, also regrets all the years that she wasted on him.
Why me?
But before you know it, her window browsing is interrupted by none other than Lawrence Blood. It's that guy that we saw before. He then somehow kinda just nudges Mai into this epic-looking battlefield stage, complete with collapsed Roman columns. Is there anything like this in Germany? They then square off in a fairly quick but interesting little fight, before he just easily beats her. Andy and his ghastly shirt and neckerchief combo then arrive on the scene, and this is where Masami Obari tries to be the best Masami Obari he can be. While it doesn't take long for Andy to actually dispatch Lawrence, this at least establishes the weird running gag of the Spaniard getting knocked into shit and saying,
He's strong, too strong, too strong.
Mai and Andy then share a rare moment of actually being in a healthy relationship, and then we're back to Terry's living nightmare. Things haven't gotten any better since his run-in with Joe, and he finds himself in another drunken stupor. In one of the new battle's more shoehorned-in sequences, Axel Hawk, SNK's often forgotten Balrog clone, simply wants to beat Terry up because it'll be awesome. He's distraught to see, however, that...
This can't be him! This guy looks half dead!
And quickly loses interest. Tony, worried that viewers may have forgotten what his whiny voice sounds like, then insults Axel and his goon, which results in this kinda creepy, weird fight where Axel orders said goon to beat up the child for an extended period of time. Terry just watches this as it all goes down for a good long while before he finally decides to power up with the memories of his own tough upbringing on the streets of Southtown. And as science has proven time and again, the fiery resolve of a shonen hero instantly dissipates the effects of alcohol. Yeah, now Terry's getting motivated! Tony then blacks out due to his injuries. When he comes to, he wakes up in a motorcycle sidecar. Terry's motorcycle. Where did he get this? No, shut up. Don't think about that, because now Terry's all like, wubba wubba, I'm in the pink today. Krauser, having taken a gig protecting some undoubtedly crooked politician, is watching a parade from a penthouse suite when room service comes a-knockin'.
Here's your food, sir.
The perfect hotel. I see they have provided an assassin at no charge to help me pass the time.
Ha! And I thought for sure I had such a great disguise. Well, your eyes were too keen for me.
Wait, what? That was Joe? How could he ever? Joe embarrasses himself over and over as he's repeatedly cast aside by our main villain. The Thai kickboxing king then decides to bet it all on a last-ditch Hail Mary that we don't quite see, cause we have to cut back to Terry and Tony for some reason. Mr. Bogard is elegantly copying a squat for quite a long time when he throws out a power wave, which when done in an anime, flattens an entire forest. Now, while this scene seems completely useless, it isn't, just mostly. Terry's regaining his pre-drunken bender power level, so it lets the audience know that
Lone wolves are back!
Alright, with that out of the way, how is Joe doing? Oh... Alright, back to Terry. Now that he's been chugging Protag fuel, he's feeling pretty good, but he still lacks a trump card that can give him an edge over his purple-haired opponent. Now, if only there were some type of force ghosts that could give him the encouragement he needs to, well, fuck me. Now, usually in situations like this, all it takes is an undead cheering section to inspire the hero. And it's no different here.
Lily, thank you.
The next morning, Terry says,
Heads up, Tony. Changing plans. We're not going to Germany.
Huh? Why not?
Take a look at that.
Huh? Why? Joe Higashi in critical condition. Terry, what do you think happened?
He has 24 broken bones. There's only one man I know who could have done that to Joe.
So it's time to make a quick detour to make sure Joe is okay, despite the fact that we know he's okay, he's just in hospital. What it is, however, is a great excuse to have Terry and Mai meet for the first time, and for Joe's voice actor to act his ass off.
Terry, is that your voice I hear?
I'm here, Joe.
I knew it. I sensed your strength as you came in.
Joe, your eye.
Terry, you've recovered. I knew that you could do it.
Yeah, thanks to you and Tony.
You have to find Andy. He's waiting for you, Terry. At the usual place.
So the usual place is a cemetery where we come upon Andy paying his respects at a grave. Now, we can only assume this is Tung's or Jeff Bogard's resting place, but it's never clarified. What we can then infer is that this must be in or close to Southtown. That makes sense, right? As both characters died there? But we just visited Joe in the hospital, who was attacked by Krauser while he was abroad, but Terry drove from there? It just doesn't make any sense. Regardless, Andy and Terry fight to settle something, I guess to see which one of them is more likely to beat old Wolfie. It's a pretty dang good fight, one of the best so far, and even makes you think that Andy has a shot at winning. Who am I kidding? Mid-super move, Andy's attack sequence is interrupted by violent Terry, who's somehow able to dream cancel into his new technique, Power Geyser. Now, I know he doesn't say Power Geyser, but trust me, it's Power Geyser. Now, despite me giving out over this OVA's lack of detail in regards to the logistics and all the traveling, I'm impressed at the amount of detail that they did put into it when it comes to other stuff. Fatal Fury 2 was the first game in the series that instituted super or desperation attacks, and that is where Power Geyser made its debut. So the fact that they made sure to include that tiny detail that really didn't need to be included, well, it's pretty cool. So with Terry now laser focused on his goal, he weighs his chances of making it out of this upcoming fight unscathed.
This may be the last sunrise I ever see.
Ah, come on, Terry. You shouldn't say stuff like that.
Don't say things like that.
Yeah, I just said that. Meanwhile, back in Krauser land, Krauser's battle sense starts tingling while he's enjoying his morning tea. And this just gets him all jazzed up and shit.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll fetch you another one immediately.
I have the feeling that today will be unique. I can hardly wait. I will be in the Great Hall if any guests arrive.
Terry, even more meanwhile, has apparently driven his motorcycle across the ocean and arrives at Castle Stroheim with Tony in tow. The opening exchange between these two rivals, well, I'm gonna be honest, it's a little disappointing.
I knew you would come, Terry. You seem a different man since our last meeting. I'm glad I let you live. Come, entertain me.
I was so afraid of you. I hoped I'd never see you again, but I'm ready to fight. I've conquered my fear. Now if it kills me, you will lose.
Nah, this is all wrong. We gotta fix this.
Hey, come on. Okay.
I'll chisel your gravestone.
Ah, that's better. The first round is decent, if a little slow-paced, and as usual, special moves in anime world are galaxy-destroying weapons of mass destruction. It starts to heat up when Krauser lets loose with
Terry!
that Terry thankfully deflects with and that signals the start of round 2. Everyone's battle damaged and shit, and the fight gets kind of desperate and vicious. I like it. Feels a bit more gritty and personal. Unfortunately, this doesn't last much longer. Terry throws out a series of deep gut punches, and that's all it takes. I don't know, it feels a little lackluster that a quick midsection combo is the final move. Anyway, Krauser then says,
"What do you know? I am defeated."
Dude, no, don't give up. You're still standing and fully conscious. You can... that's kind of lame, isn't it? Tony, for once in his life, doesn't know what to say. Thankfully, Terry gives him advice that's so harsh.
You see, fighting leaves only emptiness. It's time to go.
That SNK wisely decided not to ever make Tony playable in any future games. Hipper or Bopper, whatever their name is, they update Geese, letting him know that Krauser got his shit bopped, and Mr. Howard celebrates the only way he knows how. Oh man, they're setting up for a rematch. Terry versus Geese, payback. I can't wait to see that in the sequel. Alright. Terry drops off his one pant-legged sidekick at the train station and even somehow arranges it so that Tony's mom meets them there. Tony then pledges to take good care of her, but simultaneously also says he'll still train to fight and become as strong as Terry one day, despite that being explicitly against Terry's wishes. Mr. Bogard doesn't seem to mind though, because it's now an excuse for him to go into his famous winning pose.
Okay!
Cue the 90s as shit J-pop song. Overall, I think this is a much better production than Legend of the Hungry Wolf, although it does feel very much like the Terry show, with everyone else playing supplementary roles. This makes it feel like the odd man out among the other two features in the Fatal Fury trilogy. The story is nice and simple, the fights are pretty satisfying, and it has that distinctive 90s charm. And while I give him guff, Tony's inclusion doesn't ruin everything, but he also fails to enhance the proceedings in any shape, way, or form. So with that, I give the new battle 3.5 Rising Takus out of 5. What then of course followed was Fatal Fury the motion picture in 1994, which I'm pretty much resigned to have to review in the future. And as I'm sure some people will mention it, a few months back SNK announced that they were bringing Obari back to direct a new anime short to promote King of Fighters 15, and I am here for that. I mean, it can't be any worse than King of Fighters Destiny and Terry's creepy SFM face. Any other fighting game animes or movies you'd like to enter the ring? Let me know in the comments below or hit up the Flophouse VIP Patreon and nominate the one of your choice. And I will see you next time in the fighting game theater.
We await your return, warrior.